Williams. Let's live life, and we're back. Before we start, if you ain't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Don't take but a second. Push the little button. You're looking at it. You see it. It's on the screen. Click it. All right. Now we're going to go with like or dislike. Do it now. Do it after the video. Whatever. Hit one of the thumbs. Stop skipping the little things. Turn that bell on. And last but not least, leave a comment. So let's go ahead and get into it. Today I'm going to talk about my homeboy Brian, man. And y'all seen the title of the video, so y'all know what this is related to. Now, I talk a lot about Greensville. Greensville was a prison that I spent a lot of time in. About 8 years of my 10-year sentence was done in Greensville, here in Virginia. Greensville is known for housing some of the most, violent inmates. Large majority of the inmates there have life, violent charges, murders, rapes. If you've ended up at Greensville, you've done something, or you just got screwed in the deal somehow and got thrown there. The majority of the guys that I kicked it with had violent charges. It's just not because, that's the type of people I flock to, but we have an understanding in how prison runs. We have, similar characteristics or beliefs. We're not going to stand for no bullshit. So it goes without saying, those are my type of dudes. Now, when I first got there, I had my issues. I was new, not new to being locked up, but new to this place. And every place runs different. There are similarities, but they run different. Now, right out the gate, I linked up with stocky dude, man, named BK. And they called him BK because, from Brooklyn, whatever. Cool dude, man. I'm going to do a story on him one day, too. He tricked the shit out of me. But anyway, me and BK link up. I want to get on my big shit. I'm already, good size from being in jail and doing push-ups all that time, working out with the water bag. But BK had been locked up since the 90s, man. He's, cut up. This dude looked like a tree trunk with arms. And he was short, maybe 5'6", 5'7". Straight cannon. So he gets me on this workout with him, and he introduces me to the guy that this story is about. A guy that also lived in my pod that I never paid much attention to. And I'm just going to give y'all his first name, because as I said in my, a couple other videos, I don't believe in exploiting people's pains or downfalls unless it is their fault, unless, it's something messed up on their part. So we're working out one day. I think we, pretty sure we're doing back legs that day. And a dude comes up and asks for it next. And this guy lives about 10 cells down from me. And his name is Brian. We tell him, yeah, you can get it after us. Let us get the squat rack next. Cool, whatever. Don't say much more to him. Me and BK, we build over time. We walk the track. I come to find out that BK, some of the charges he was in there for were murder. He got caught up down, Virginia Beach, Portsmouth area. Killed 2 dudes and left one in a wheelchair for life. Hit him up. They tried to rob him. Shots rang out. He killed 2 of them. Left one of them paralyzed. Just a little bit about BK. But BK would talk to me. He had been down a long time, so he knew a lot of the other guys that had been down a long time. He knew their stories. He knew why they were there. He had been on different compounds with them and seen things happen, the things that they had done. And this dude, Brian, stuck to himself. Super friendly guy. You would look at Brian and you would think, why is he in here? And back in the day, your state number used to let everybody know, pretty much told how long you had been down. Because, my number at the time was 357017. Now, if I run into a guy that's got a 36 number, that lets me know he came in way after me. If I run into a guy that's got a 25 number, he came in way, way before me. Brian Hanna had I can't remember, but it was in the low 2s. So I knew he had been down 15 years or better. So me and BK get to talking one day, man, and we're just shooting the bullshit, which you do a lot in prison. You tell a lot of stories, a lot of talking. Ain't no, phones like that or nothing. So your biggest source of entertainment is kicking it with your homeboys and talking. And I asked him about Brian. I said, man, what's up with dude? And he was like, well, Brian, he's good people, man. I said, yeah. I mean, well, what's up with him? You don't ask people that charges, but other people know. I said, he's got a body. He was like, yeah, he's got a body, but he didn't come in with a body, which kind of, rose my eyebrows a little bit. And I'm like, what you mean he didn't come in with a body? He was like, Hannah's got a life sentence, but it's for murdering another inmate. And he goes on to tell me the story of Brian. So here we go. Brian came in originally on a drug charge back in the 90s, early 90s. Just had a couple years, They took Brian at the time and threw him in a prison that he shouldn't have been in, around certain types of people that he should have never been housed with. Well, they have what's called open base showers, which is a shower with no partition, nothing to, hide you and whatever you got going on from the next man. Y'all just shower. I mean, it's just a big ass open concrete area with shower heads. And he goes on to tell me, he says, Brian was just doing a couple years, man, and where he was at, there was a dude that was notorious for raping dudes, man. And this is back then it was more common. Not so much today, still happens, but not as much. And he tells me, Brian was a lot smaller than he is now. And I knew Brian from seeing him in the pod and from seeing him work out. He wasn't a big dude, but he was in good shape. And he tells me that, Brian had started his bid. Everything was going good. And these are the things that he had been told from Brian and things that he also witnessed from being around Brian at this camp when this happened. So this is actually his testimony of what he saw. He said that you minded your business back then. Unless it was one of your people being hurt, or you were just somebody that wanted to save the world. If something happened, you stayed out of it. Because you getting in it could get you killed, could run your time up, could cause you all these problems with other these people. So it's kind of, mind your business. He said you could tell when Brian came in, he was timid. He didn't like showering with a lot of people. And he just stayed to himself. So he would wait till late night when everybody was laid down for the night or watching TV and the showers were pretty much dead. And Brian would go take his shower. He said that this went on for a little while, no hiccups, no problems. But there was a dude in there that, had raped other dudes in the past. But everybody kind of kept the eye on, just watched him. But just like most of these dudes, they're predators. They know who they can prey on. They're not going to run up on the dude that they know is going to cut his throat. They're not going to run up on the dude that's going to take, a piece of rebar and stab him all up in his chest with it. They're not going to do that. They're going to go after somebody they feel they can victimize. That's where Brian comes into play. He said that one night in particular, he said, I'm on my bunk. I'm watching TV, whatever. Can't remember the show. He said, but Brian walked by my bunk and went to the shower. He said he's got his soap dish, his shampoo, his towel, his rag. He's got his shower shoes on. Got a little pair of gray sweat shorts, a white tee, and then a change of clothes. He said Brian heads over to the shower, and he's just, regular routine, taking a shower. He said it's not long after that, he feels the presence of somebody moving behind him. And this dude that did this, I never got the dude's name, slept a couple bunks behind him. He said he seen the dude get up and head towards the shower with his shower stuff. He said that maybe 3-4 minutes goes by and you start hearing scuffling. And then you can hear that very, unforgettable sound of fist hitting flesh, which is just, he said, and you can tell that they're in there fighting, but it sounds like a one-way fight. It doesn't sound like, you don't hear anything, two sets of shower shoes scuffling. You don't hear a lot of tumbling. You just hear a little bit of ruckus, and then he said that's what you're hearing. He said you hear, some screaming. He looks out of the control booth. The guard is not paying no attention, and the guard was paying attention. She acted like she didn't care what was going on. I guess she was minding her business too. This guy ends up raping Brian in the shower. Right there on this cold, nasty, old, dingy, tiled penitentiary floor, he raped this other man. So they're expecting that there's going to be this big investigation. The police are going to come in. Brian's going to say something. This guy's going to go to court. He's going to get locked up. None of that happens. Just doesn't happen. Brian doesn't say anything. He said he watched the dude come out the shower. Short time later, Brian came out, knots on his head, knots on the side of his face. You know, you can tell by the way he was walking that things weren't right. He had his head down, you know, and everybody knew what had just happened. But it's like I said, it's one of those things, it ain't your business, you mind your business. They thought it was over with. They thought, you know, the most that might happen is this dude might try Brian again. But he said that didn't happen. He said after that incident, a week goes by and they're all expecting. He said Brian ain't been back to the shower since. You know, he's not going to chow. He's going out in the rec yard and he's sitting all the way at the other end by himself with his back to everybody in this field. And everybody's just like, damn, you know what I mean? This is crazy to have to live this life and watch this type of stuff take place. What they didn't know is that Brian had got his hands on a piece of metal and was sitting at the other end of that yard with his back to everybody with a rock between his legs, sharpening this piece of steel. Sharpening day after day. He's sitting there, shh, 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 until this piece of steel he's got his hands on is now a shank, a big nasty piece of jagged metal that is going to, you know, do nothing nice to anybody. He said one particular day, they're all going to chow and they're lined up, getting ready to go out. And he said it was a good day, like hot dogs or chicken or something like that. So that means everybody's going to chow. There's certain meals guys aren't going to go for because it's not even worth going over there. You'd rather just eat a soup and a chip or something. He said, and everybody's standing in the chow hall line and they're going through one at a time, getting their tray, going to find a spot to sit down. He said, and Brian is standing in the back of the line and Brian gets out from there's like a rail that goes around. He said Brian ducks under the rail, walks through the tables, and the big dude is standing there talking to somebody else and just walks right up on him, reaches over the rail and just plunges the knife in the side of his neck with all these guards watching and just goes to stabbing him in his face, his eyes, his mouth, his chest. The guy slumped over and Brian is just stabbing this guy, stabbing him. He said to the point the guy slumped over the rail when he's dead, and Brian is just running this blade through him over and over. There's two guards in the chow hall. They've done ran out the chow hall, locked the door. They don't know what to do. They just witnessed this man murder this other man right in front of them, right in front of everybody. Brian just assassinated this dude, killed him right there, which he should have. You know what I mean? If you're that type of person and you're doing that to people, there's no place for you in the world. I don't care if you think that because you're in prison that flies. There's no place for you in this world. So Brian did what he did. They brought the goon squad in. By the time the goon squad came in, Brian went and sat down on, one of the little round benches at the table, all covered in blood, and just sat there. Now, this is a man that came in with just a couple years, that has now butchered another man in front of an entire chow hall, in front of guards, in front of kitchen workers, on camera. He just killed this man in front of everybody. Brian didn't ever report what happened to him in the shower. Never went to a guard, a counselor, nobody. But he brung it up when it was time for him to go to trial. He told him, look, this man had raped me. I pondered on what to do about it. I knew everybody knew, but I didn't want to bring no more light to it. I was scared for my life. Every night I was petrified it was going to happen again. So I killed him. They ended up getting Brian with premeditated first-degree murder. And that's because he took the time to make the weapon. He had over a week to think about it. Could have told somebody, which, we know is not going to happen because, like I've said in other videos, who wants to be the guy that the rest of your sentence you're known for, being raped? They gave Brian a natural life sentence without the possibility of parole. So a guy that came in on a drug charge ended up with a life sentence behind dealing with the situation that happened to him. Brian is still in there today. Brian will die, an old man in there. You know, when I met him, he was probably in his late 30s. And this is the brutal reality of things that happen. Homeboy BK is still in there. I think his release date is like 2060 something. And he got locked up at 95. It's a sad world we live in, and there are monsters out here, and they come in all colors, all shapes, all sizes, all forms, man. You never know who you're dealing with or what's going to happen to you in this life. But what matters the most, and what I hope y'all get from this story is, what matters the most is how you deal with it. When you take the law into your own hands, you know, a lot of times justice is served. Just be willing to take what comes along with it. Brian, you won't see this, but shout out to you, man. You're a soldier. Hope your bid goes smooth, man. Hope some laws change and something comes up and you could be released, because you don't deserve to be where you're at. So that's what it is, man. It's a story time. Jay Williams, let's live life. Y'all know what it is, man. To all my real ones, and there are some real ones because y'all watching me. Salute.